One of the most decorated Texas Aggies ever, and former Dallas Cowboy Dat Nguyen joins us here on Radio Row. You're our first guest of the week.
I'm honored. Thank you very much. Am I a guinea pig or am I?
Yeah, well, we won't say that. Dat, first of all, I got to ask you about your alma mater. How proud are you of what they did this year?
Man, I don't think words can really describe how excited or how what a remarkable season this was. And it's Kevin Sumlin coming in and going to the SEC. I think everybody that was an Aggie, I think, realized that we were hoping for a 7-5, 8-4 season. Nobody ever expected 11-2 season, and it's unbelievable. And oh man, the wrecking crew, which doesn't get a lot of credit because it's Johnny football, but overall, if you're an Aggie, the next couple of years, it's going to be a fun ride.
What as an Aggie? And once an Aggie, always an Aggie. There
Yes,
are no
sir.
former Aggies. We know that, right? But what did you think of Johnny football this year?
I think Johnny's an exceptional athlete. We were there on the coaching staff with Mike Sherman when we recruited him. He grew up in the San Antonio area. He's a competitor. He came in midterm in December, and we do a circuit. We do about 8-station circuit, and we go through it. And after the circuit, we grade them, and each coach have a grade. And every day, I would tell you, he's the top 5 grader every day for 4 weeks that we did it. He was an unbelievable competitor. He's just one of those guys that are just unique. I would compare him a lot to Tony Romo. I don't know if people want to hear that, but in East Texas, but he's really like a Tony Romo in a lot of ways because he's so good at whatever he wants to do. He can play golf, he can play basketball, he can play baseball. Whatever you ask him to play, he's going to be great at it because he's just one of those guys.
Let's shift gears and talk about that other team that you played for. People are so frustrated with the Cowboys, and I know Jerry's frustrated, and you can see it and feel it because all the changes he's made. What's your just initial take of a team that's been right on the cusp of being in the playoffs the last 2 years, but they can't win that final game to get there?
Yeah, it's always been an axe on the Cowboys for some reason, somehow, that the big game, they can't win the big game, or December is not a good month. And there's so many stuff that you point your finger in, whatever it is working too hard the offseason, or is it game planning? We can say what we want to say, and I've been on both sides. I've been on the coaching staff, and I've been on the playing side. And it had to be the players. And I think we don't have enough leaders on that team. Yes, you have the DeMarcus Ware. Yes, you have the Witten. Yes, you got the Jay Ratliff. But that's
they
not
need
enough.
a Ray Lewis, don't they?
I don't know. Ray Lewis is the answer. I think a lot of guys – or guys, even just the core guys. You don't have a guy that just we're lacking something in that department. Now, I'm not degrading the players. I'm not doing anything to talk down to the players. I'm just saying that we're not missing that chemistry, that bond, that leadership skill that we have that carries the team. Guys want to make them instead of need to make a play and guys watching to make it happen or waiting for somebody to make it happen. You go do it. And I don't know. We have that guy that say, "Hey, put it on my shoulders. I'll carry you. We're gonna make that play right now to win this game."
How do you come by that? How does that happen? You draft that guy? I mean, is somebody already there step up?
I don't know. There's a formula for that. I think a lot of times you fall, you get lucky, but at the end of the day, you got to do a great job of evaluating players, and it's the inside. It's the love of the game, and there's the guys that are underachievers. The overachievers. You got too many guys that are underachieving. You want the overachiever players, and I think that's one thing we don't realize yet. You see, guys that doesn't want to be. You don't have enough Dez Bryant that say, "Hey, give me the ball. I want to play. If I'm hurt, I'm playing anyways." Too many guys have little nicks and bruises here and say, "Oh, I'm not 100%, so I'm not going to go out there and play." And you got too many of those, and that's not good.
This Tampa 2 defense, Monty Kiffin. What do you think about it now? Switching, I mean, that's a big switch from the 3-4 back to the 4-3, and
it is. And we had Bill Parcells on the show last week, and we asked him the same question. Because when I was with the Cowboys, when he signed with the Cowboys in 2003, he wanted to change to a 3-4, but it took him a couple of years to go to a 3-4, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be an adjustment. I love Monty Kiffin. I love what he does. Everybody talks about the Tampa 2. We ran some Tampa 2 when I was with the Cowboys. It's a bend but don't break defense. You're not going to give a lot of big plays, but you got to give only the way the offensive coordinator is going to beat you is that they got to be patient. And you give them all the yards they want, and they're going to play great red zone defense, which he will. But it'll be an adjustment to a lot of guys. You know what I mean? Who's going to be the Warren Sapp? That's the one guy that in that defense. He's the 3 technique. He's gonna get one-on-one with the offensive guard, and who's gonna be that guy that's gonna get that? Get that one-on-one every time to beat that guy. and you need that guy. I don't think that's guy on. They don't have that guy in the organization right now. You know, DeMarcus Ware is going to be good. Whoever's going to be opposite is going to be fine. But that 3 technique, really, if we can say what you want to say about defensive ends or inside linebackers, inside linebackers is just a puzzle. Those guys are great players. You know, Sean Lee, you know, Bruce Carr, those guys are great players, but they're just a puzzle for that defense. The guy that you need is the 3 technique, and who's that guy be, I don't know.
All right, finally, the Ravens and the Niners are in this game this week. I'm not asking so much to pick a winner as to your thoughts on just how far do you think the Cowboys are from being – because they almost got in the playoffs. I mean, they're almost somewhere, not sure where, but they're almost something. How far do you see them from being on this level?
I think it falls back to what I said earlier about that being the leadership. I think, you know, when you look at these 2 teams in the Super Bowl, they have an identity. Whatever it is, they have an identity. I don't think the Cowboys have an identity. And you don't know if you're a passing team or you're a running team. You got to be one or the other, and you got to establish the other, and you got to have an offensive line, which we know was a lack this year. Well, you know, but you got to have that group, because when you can throw a ball all you want, but down at the end of the day, you better run the ball, and you got to win the line of scrimmage. If it's defensive line or offensive line, it doesn't matter. That's where you win the game. And these 2 teams in the Super Bowl, they have that. And the Cowboys, that's one thing we're missing is the identity. And the number one is that there's no identity on the team.
Dat Nguyen once spoke at our Scholastic All-Stars banquet. That was a while back. But
that was a couple years ago, but it was fun.
It was fun.
That was awesome, what you guys are doing there in that area.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.